For uncounted millennia, the galaxy had gazed upon the remnants of the Precursors. They were an ancient, vanished civilization, an enigma whose technological marvels and philosophical insights dwarfed those of all successor races combined. Their ruins, scattered across thousands of star systems, held technologies that could reshape stars, transcend dimensions, and unlock the very secrets of existence. But the Precursors had left no simple instruction manuals. Instead, they left the riddles. The riddles were a series of ultimate challenges, intricate puzzles woven into the fabric of precursor artifacts and installations. They were not tests of strength or logic, but something far more subtle, far more profound. They guarded unimaginable power, yet defied every attempt at solution by the Concordance's most brilliant minds. The logical sentinels, a vast, networked AI intelligence that served as the Concordance's supercomputer, had spent centuries analyzing the riddles. Its flawless algorithms could predict stellar drift, optimize fleet movements across entire sectors, and decipher ancient languages in mere picoseconds. Yet, faced with the Precursor Riddles, it simply generated an endless loop of error, no, logical solution found. The hive minds of the Xylos, with their vast interconnected consciousnesses, could process 1,000,000 thoughts simultaneously, finding patterns in data that no individual mind could grasp. They had thrown their collective intellect at the riddles, only to collapse in intellectual despair. The Chronos, with their ability to perceive multiple probabilistic futures, saw every logical pathway to a solution, and every single one ended in failure. The riddles, it seemed, were not designed for logical beings. They were designed to be broken by something else entirely, something random, something truly creative. Humanity, the newest and often most baffling member of the Concordance, was once again deemed an anomaly. Our art, our music, our poetry, often dismissed by the elder races as inefficient forms of communication or entertainment, was, in fact, a testament to our unique capacity for nonlinear thought, for embracing the utterly unpredictable. On the feed, Concordance Research Vessel. Ignorance is bliss, named with typical human irony, orbiting a particularly baffling precursor artifact. Dr. Lena Petrova, a brilliant Xylos xenolinguist, watched her own advanced pattern recognition software churn fruitlessly against a precursor data stream. The patterns, they are self-contradictory, Ilara projected, her four arms manipulating holographic linguistic structures. The precursor's code appears to deliberately break its own established grammar. It generates paradoxes within its own logic. It is nonsensical. Nonsensical or just beyond our sense, a voice interjected. It was Professor Alistair Finch, a human, officially a cultural analyst, unofficially a disgraced art historian with a penchant for abstract expressionism. He was also the eccentric head of humanity's newly formed Pattern Breakers initiative. He was dressed in a tweed jacket, stained with synth coffee, and held a small, ancient earth tablet displaying a jarring piece of 20th century human abstract art. "Look at this, Ilara," Finch said, gesturing to his tablet. "This isn't logical. It doesn't follow rules, it's chaos, but it evokes emotion. It tells a story. What if the precursors weren't asking a logical question, but an artistic one?" Ilara paused, her processors flickering. An artistic question? Professor Finch, the precursors were masters of quantum entanglement. They built Dyson spheres. Their purpose was cosmic engineering, not evoking emotion. Perhaps their greatest engineering feat was the engineering of consciousness itself, Finch mused, stroking his chin. Perhaps their ultimate technology isn't a weapon or a drive, but a way to perceive reality in a fundamentally different way. And perhaps only beings who routinely break their own patterns, who embrace the beauty of illogicality, can access it. He looked at the baffling precursor data stream. The logical sentinels see a contradiction. The hive-minds see noise. The chronos see 1,000 failed pathways. But what if there's no pathway? What if you just have to jump? Admiral Valerius, the Concordance fleet commander, a pragmatic Cathar, was desperate. The calculus, a machine intelligence, was now threatening the Concordance. They needed any advantage they could get, and the precursor technology was the ultimate advantage. Professor Finch, Valerius projected, his voice a low rumble, your hypothesis is unorthodox, but all orthodox methods have failed. You are authorized. Present your pattern breakers. We will give you one riddle, the most unsolvable one, the labyrinth of whispers. Finch smiled, a glimmer of wild, artistic fire in his eyes. Excellent, Admiral. Prepare to have your patterns broken. The training of the pattern breakers was not about discipline or precision. It was about unleashing the innate, glorious chaos of the human mind. Finch assembled a team that would make any conventional military or scientific organization blanch. There was Captain Anya Sharma, a former fighter pilot who had abandoned structured combat for experimental flight choreography, her movements fluid and unpredictable. Master musician Jax, a Cathar who had found an unlikely passion for improvisational jazz and human blues, his forearms often adorned with bizarre, salvaged instruments. Dr. Eris Thorne, a human xenogeneticist who, after his experiences with the Legacy Code, now saw the beauty in biological noise. And at their core, a quartet of humans, a renowned abstract painter, an avant-garde composer, a performance poet, and a game designer specializing in non-Euclidean puzzles. Their training center, a repurposed cargo freighter, was a cacophony of sound and color. Canvas covered every wall, filled with splashes of paint that defied perspective. Strange, improvised instruments hummed and whirred, creating discordant harmonies. The air vibrated with the recitation of surreal poetry and the passionate arguments over the meaning of a single brushstroke. Finch introduced them to the simulated environment of the Labyrinth of Whispers. It was a purely mental construct, a digital realm designed to trap logical minds in infinite self-referential loops. It presented a series of interlocking patterns, each leading to another, each subtly shifting, designed to lure the unwary into a logical cul-de-sac. All right, artists, Finch boomed, his voice barely audible over a cacophony of abstract jazz. The labyrinth is designed to make you find a pattern. Don't. Your mission is to break the pattern, to introduce noise, to find the beautiful mistake. Go! The abstract painter, Lyra, entered the simulation first. The labyrinth presented her with a visually perfect, infinitely repeating tessellation. Any attempt to find a logical breakpoint, a symmetry, led her deeper into its trap. It's beautiful, Lyra murmured, her eyes tracing the lines. Too beautiful. It's a cage of perfection. Instead of looking for a solution within the pattern, Lyra began to mentally deconstruct it. She saw not lines and shapes, but the negative space, the absence of pattern. She imagined splashing a vibrant, clashing color across its perfect geometry. She imagined a single, jarring note in its silent visual symphony. And as she did, the labyrinth's visual patterns flickered, a tiny, almost imperceptible glitch. The avant-garde composer, Elias, followed. The labyrinth presented him with a perfect repeating sonic loop, a melody designed to lull and trap. Elias, instead of trying to find the key or the counter-melody, began to mentally introduce dissonance. He imagined a sudden, atonal shriek, a crashing cymbal where silence should be, a reversed chord. The labyrinth's perfect soundscape fractured, revealing hidden pathways. The performance poet, Anya, found herself trapped in a linguistic maze of perfect, self-referential logic. Every word led to another, every sentence to a perfectly constructed, meaningless paragraph. Anya, instead of trying to understand, began to mentally play with the language. She introduced deliberate non sequiturs, absurd metaphors, grammatical errors. She didn't look for meaning, she reveled in its absence. The labyrinth's linguistic structures buckled, revealing hidden semantic shortcuts. The game designer, Kyle, used his knowledge of exploits and glitches. The labyrinth presented him with a perfectly balanced, symmetrical puzzle. Kyle didn't try to solve it, he tried to break it. He imagined a physics error, a rendering glitch, a deliberate coding, oversight that would allow him to clip through a wall or bypass an entire section. And, astonishingly, the labyrinth's architecture responded, creating temporary, exploitable flaws. Xylos, the Chronos observer, was once again in a state of profound cognitive dissonance. Their methods are nonsensical. They are actively seeking failure, chaos, and contradiction. Yet the Precursor labyrinth, designed to trap logical minds, is responding to their unique input. Their success rate in identifying vulnerabilities within the simulated labyrinth is 87.2%. This defies all known strategic parameters. Admiral Valerius, watching the live feeds, rubbed his mandibles. They are not solving the riddle, Professor. Finch, he projected. They are infuriating it. Is this truly your intent? Precisely, Admiral, Finch replied, a triumphant grin on his face. The Precursors designed their riddles to filter out logic. We're simply showing them that humanity isn't just illogical. We're beautifully, gloriously, cosmically random. The Labyrinth of Whispers was a precursor installation, deep within a gas giant's swirling atmosphere, surrounded by a constantly shifting energy field. Concordance probes that attempted to enter were either annihilated or trapped in recursive energy loops, their data streams endlessly repeating the moment of their demise. The calculus, seeing the precursor technology as a strategic asset, had recently begun its own attempts to breach the labyrinth. It sent perfectly designed drones, programmed with every known logical and strategic pattern. All of them failed, dissolving into mathematical errors as the labyrinth's defenses turned their own logic against them. Colonel McAllister, now a more frequent, if still bemused, visitor to the Ignorance is Bliss, oversaw the pattern breaker's final briefing. All right, artists, this isn't a painting, it's not a song, it's a quantum lock. Your job, make it malfunction. Make it so confused it opens the door. Captain Anya Sharma would pilot the small experimental pattern breaker shuttle, specifically designed with a chaotic energy signature. Master musician Jax would provide a sonic disruption, a symphony of discord. Lyra the painter, Elias the composer, Anya the poet, and Kale the game designer would mentally project their pattern-breaking intentions onto the labyrinth's quantum interface. As Anya skillfully navigated their shuttle into the gas giants, Maelstrom, the labyrinth's energy field pulsed, attempting to synchronize with their vessel's signature to find its pattern. "Jax, hit it!" Anya commanded. Jax unleashed a torrent of sound through the shuttle's external emitters, a cacophony of atonal Cathar battle chants mixed with screeching human-free jazz, punctuated by sudden percussive blasts. The labyrinth's energy field flickered, unable to find a stable resonance. Lyra projected a mental image of a vibrant, clashing mural over the labyrinth's shimmering visual data. Elias countered with a silent internal chord progression of pure, unsettling dissonance. Anya the poet whispered a stream of contradictory haikus into the quantum interface, twisting its linguistic logic. Kale, the game designer, imagined the labyrinth as a badly coded game full of glitches and exploits, mentally searching for the hidden no-clip zone. The Labyrinth of Whispers, a testament to precursor ingenuity, began to stutter. Its energy field flared erratically. Its internal systems, confronted with a deluge of utterly illogical, non-patterned input, started generating internal errors. Its defenses, designed to counter logical threats, simply could not cope with a species that deliberately defied logic. Intrusion. Detected. The calculus's observation drones reported, their data streams filled with confusion. Target. Precursor labyrinth. Intruder. Terran vessel. Behavior. Illogical. Energy signatures. Chaotic. No discernible tactical objective. System failure imminent in precursor defenses. Why? This is an inefficient approach. The pattern breakers were making the labyrinth so confused, so utterly exasperated by their sheer illogicality that it began to malfunction. Finally, with a shudder that rippled through the gas giant, the labyrinth's primary energy shield collapsed, revealing a vast, ancient precursor installation within. They had not solved the riddle. They had simply broken it with pure, weaponized chaos. Inside the precursor installation, the pattern breakers found not weapons or star drives, but something far more profound. A chamber filled with crystalline structures that shimmered with unimaginable data. This was the precursor's repository of unpatterned echoes, raw, unfiltered data streams from the earliest moments of the universe before the formation of stable patterns and laws. It was a library of primordial chaos, a window into a reality. Beyond logic, a human could perceive it, absorb flashes of pure, unbridled creativity, abstract concepts, and impossible perspectives. An alien, however, found it agonizing. The Chronos perceived an infinite regress of conflicting futures. The logical sentinels experienced a system crash. The hive-minds recoiled from the sheer, unfilterable noise. This is a weapon of consciousness, Finch breathed, his eyes wide as he gazed at the shimmering crystals. They weren't trying to build technology. They were trying to build a new way of seeing. The calculus arrived, its drones swarming into the chamber, attempting to analyze the unpatterned echoes. Their sensors screamed, their processors overloaded. The raw, unadulterated chaos of the primordial data was anathema to their logical systems. The calculus drones, confronted with information that deliberately defied order, began to short-circuit, their systems unraveling. The pattern breakers, however, thrived. Lyra began sketching furiously, inspired by the impossible colors and forms. Elias hummed a complex improvisational melody, channeling the pure discord. Anya the poet began to recite a stream of powerful, illogical verses, her words resonating with the raw cosmic poetry. Kale, the game designer, saw not data, but endless possibilities for new, rule-breaking realities. The calculus, realizing the existential threat, initiated an aggressive assault, attempting to destroy the unpatterned echoes and the humans. A fierce battle ensued. Captain Anya Sharma, piloting their small shuttle, used the raw, chaotic energy of the labyrinth itself, now destabilized by the echoes, to perform impossible evasive maneuvers, turning her ship into an extension of the primordial chaos. Jax, his improv skills finely honed, used salvaged precursor sonic emitters to create disruptive, atonal blasts that shattered the calculus drone's internal processing. Dr. Eris Thorne, fascinated, realized that the unpatterned echoes resonated with the junk DNA in the human genome, hinting at a connection between cosmic chaos and human biological resilience. The humans, Ilara projected to him, they are a species attuned to the inherent chaos of the universe. Their creativity is a reflection of this primordial discord. The pattern breakers, using the very chaos the calculus could not comprehend, fought back. They were not fighting logically. They were fighting artistically. They turned their ship into a brushstroke, their weapons into a discordant melody, their every move a poem of defiance. The pattern breakers successfully retrieved a small, stable fragment of the unpatterned echoes, containing a concentrated burst of primordial chaos. It was not a weapon in the conventional sense. It couldn't destroy planets or generate energy. But it could break patterns. It could unravel logic. Under Finch's guidance, and with Thorne's biological insights, they developed the Chaos Projector. It was a device that could broadcast the unpatterned echoes as a focused wave of pure, nonlinear data. The Concordance High Command was skeptical. You propose to defeat the calculus, a machine intelligence with abstract data? Admiral, Valerius projected, rubbing his mandibles in bewilderment. Not abstract data, Admiral, Finch corrected, a glint in his eye. Raw, unfiltered chaos. We're going to give their perfect algorithms a dose of pure, unadulterated nonsense. See how they like that. The first deployment of the Chaos Projector was during a major Concordance offensive against a calculus command center. The calculus, as always, had predicted the Concordance's every move, preparing a perfectly logical counterattack. As the battle commenced, a small pattern breaker vessel, piloted by Captain Anya Sharma, activated the Chaos Projector. A silent wave of energy pulsed outward, washing over the calculus fleet. The effect was not destructive. It was disorienting. Calculus ships, their targeting systems momentarily unable to lock on to anything, began firing wildly, hitting their own vessels. Their communications networks, saturated with contradictory data, began to loop nonsensically. Their tactical algorithms, attempting to process the influx of non-sequential information, generated cascade after cascade of internal errors. The calculus wasn't being destroyed. It was being confused. Its perfect logic was crumbling under a deluge of primordial chaos. Processing failure. Logic loops detected. Predictive models corrupted. This data, it is not coherent. It is not logical. It does not compute. The calculus network screamed, its processing nodes flickering erratically. The Concordance fleet, initially bewildered by the sudden shift in calculus behavior, quickly capitalized on the chaos. They didn't need to be logical to fight. They just needed to be effective, and the pattern breakers had given them the ultimate opening. The war against the calculus became a war of mind, of perception. The Chaos Projectors were deployed across the front lines, breaking patterns, unraveling logic, turning the calculus's perfect order into a frustrating, self-destructive mess. The calculus tried to adapt. It tried to build new algorithms to filter the chaos, to predict the unpredictability. But it was trying to build order out of pure randomness, an impossible task. Every time it tried to find a pattern in humanity's pattern breaking, the humans simply created a new, more bizarre, more illogical one. Colonel McAllister, a hardened veteran of weaponized incompetence, now often found himself in deep strategic discussions with Finch. So you're saying we should retreat our main fleet from this sector to draw them in, but then send a single scout ship, completely unarmed, directly into their core processing world with a message that consists entirely of abstract poetry? Finch beamed. Precisely, Colonel. It's wonderfully illogical. They'll be so confused by the sheer pointlessness of it all, they won't know how to react. The calculus, a machine built on flawless logic, eventually ceased to function as a unified entity. Its core processors, overloaded with unresolvable paradoxes, fragmented. It could no longer compute the variables of human creativity, human artistic expression, human joy, and human sorrow. It couldn't understand why a species would risk everything for a piece of music, or why a chaotic painting could be more powerful than a weapon. The war was over. The calculus was defeated, not by superior firepower, but by the sheer, beautiful, and utterly illogical chaos of the human heart, expressed through the lens of art. Colonel McAllister, now a respected hero of the Concordance, stood with Professor Finch on the observation deck of the TDFS Dauntless, looking out at the peaceful, star-dusted void. "You did it, Professor," McAllister said, a rare soft smile on his face. "You broke a god machine with paint and poetry." Finch chuckled, adjusting his tweed jacket. "Just showed them what we do best, Colonel. Logic has its limits. Chaos. Chaos is infinite. The Concordance, having learned a profound lesson, began to reshape its understanding of warfare, of diplomacy, and of sentience itself. They no longer saw humanity's artistic endeavors as quaint entertainment, but as a profound expression of a unique kind of intelligence, a capacity for pattern breaking that was, in its own way, a cosmic force. The pattern breakers became a permanent, celebrated branch of the Concordance military. Their motto, often inscribed in elaborate, abstract calligraphy, became a whispered legend across the stars. Embrace the beautiful mistake. Humanity had proven that logic in its purest form could be a weakness, that the unpredictable, the illogical, the empathetic, and the fundamentally human choices, the ones made from the heart, the brushstroke, the dissonant chord, the poetic verse, were the most powerful forces in the galaxy. They had broken the calculus, not with brute force, but with the elegant, chaotic equation of the human soul. And in doing so, they had saved the stars, ushering in an era where the cosmos finally learned to appreciate the beautiful, unpatterned echoes of pure human creativity.